I heard that you jumped many timelines overnight. You jumped many timelines overnight. Now, I want to be careful with this message because I don't like to do these kinds of sensationalist, um, the messaging that you see, the clickbait messaging you see on YouTube. So I want to break down the anatomy of this timeline jump, because what is going on here is that if this message is for you, you may have woken up this morning feeling like you have jumped several timelines. But in actuality, you jumped those timelines maybe days or weeks ago, and you've been going through a clearing process. And what has occurred overnight is that you cleared some kind of a landing. So it's one thing to timeline jump, it's another thing to jump and to land. This feels like you've jumped and you've landed, and that you've cleared previous ceilings that would result in a lot of static that would constantly pull you back. So we're constantly moving through, timelines. Every time we make a decision, we are opting into a different experience, whether we're aware of that or not. That is actually the significance of the blue pill, red pill moment in the Matrix movie. It's that every single choice we make, down to the thoughts we choose to entertain and the feelings we choose to pursue, open and close different gates, portals, timelines, realities, experiences. So this really feels like it's a message for someone who has been consciously and conscientiously seeking to jump into a specific reality based upon really who you are. And because of the false matrix fuckery, as well as all of the ways your own energy field has become aligned and programmed to kind of, operate against your truth. You've been dealing with a lot of cloudiness or static around that. Now, understand and overstand that when you timeline jump in the false matrix and you are a being who they don't want to see rise into their true timelines, you will often hit several walls within your material reality, within the feedback loop of what it is you've decided in your mind. A lot of things will start to come back towards you to convince you to be afraid and retreat. Okay, so it feels like you have done a lot of the internal battle that comes after the timeline jump if you want to clear for proper landing. And overnight, something shifted where you landed. Now, this message might resonate with you more if you woke up this morning suddenly feeling clear, but also feeling less afraid and intimidated by things in your world that once brought up a lot of fear, anxiety, or intimidation. And that's because you've risen above the reality in which those could affect you and cause scenarios that would pull you into fear and worry and anxiety. And your consciousness has risen above the fear traps that, or more importantly, the mind traps that would have had you stalling and being pulled back. I think I want to get into cards. I do have other messages and downloads that I want to get to, but I'm feeling a little bit tired today, and yet I still wanted to come on. I don't feel depleted. I'm not working from depletion. I'm not doing that anymore. But I did feel like I have so much coming through. I really need to get on here and start to explore it to get some answers, because there's another message coming through that might be a continuation even of the other two messages I did this weekend about the suppression technologies, but that is such a deep dive that I don't have the energy for it today. So let's go into this other message that was coming through yesterday, right? So, sorry, this morning. You may have jumped several timelines overnight. That might be another thing you're feeling too. The fatigue that comes after jumping timelines is real as your body integrates it. And sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's the feeling very refreshed and vital. Take it as it resonates. It really depends on how far you've jumped and your own integrative process. So I'm going to go into cards. By the way, my name is Solarah, if you're new here. And I'm going to do a reading for you based on this download. We have the Two of Swords keeps on popping up. I'm not taking it yet. We have the Two of Swords popping up and then the Hermit at the bottom. The Hermit often speaks to me of some kind of soul liberation. The Two of Swords is often somewhere where you found yourself stuck in your own mind, unable to see something, sometimes by choice. But in this scenario, I'm not feeling like it's by choice so much as it's by conditioning and conditioning, programming, blocking, etc. Two of Swords. This can also speak about a third eye block that is lifting, crown chakra block that is lifting, that's allowing you to see things more clearly. A lot of the time, what prevents us from timeline jumping and properly landing is that our minds start to work against us and we start to see things as they were instead of as we are, and as in terms of where we are choosing to direct our consciousness in accordance with where we want to go, right? So I love this. The Three of Pentacles at the bottom. The Three of Pentacles is where something begins to materialize. Something energetically is beginning to materialize. The threes in the Tower, they connect you to the Empress, right? In terms of the major arcana energy. The Three of Pentacles very specifically is Capricorn energy. It is the 10 to 19 degree energy of Capricorn. This also might be connecting you back to the timeline where you began this jump. And that would have been with the Three of Pentacles energy from around the January the 1st or the 31st of December through to the first 9 to 10 days of the year. So roughly between December 31st to January the 10th, you may have decided to jump in some way, or you may have made up your mind about something you wanted to bring forth, something you wanted to do. Okay. And so since that period of where you made a decision, you made a choice, you may have been going back and forth, trying to anchor into that choice or into that jump. And what it's telling me now is that you've landed. A month later, you've landed. You've probably gone through a lot of internal, I don't want to say internal struggle, I want to say like internal moving shit around. You've moved a lot of shit around internally. You have evicted things that don't belong within the context of how you think, how you feel, how you move. You've gone through, I feel like you've gone through a lot of trial and error in this time, like touching and trying things like trial and error to see what would work, what would stick in terms of how you shift yourself, whether it's how you shift, how you think, how you move, what you do. It feels like it's been a time of trial and error, like testing out your own feedback loop response. So this is like relearning yourself as a holographic being and understanding and overstanding that everything that comes back to you materially is just ultimately showing you what is going on internally. It's showing you what's going on within your own system so you can tweak that. I feel like this message is for someone who is really getting a deeper understanding of this concept. And as such, you've gone into like science mode. Okay, so I'm producing this loop. What do I need to look at internally to to stop the loop within. There's a loop within that's producing a loop without that I don't like. What do I need to focus on? What do I need to focus on in terms of my own stuff? What do I need to focus on in terms of interference? What do I need to focus on in terms of what I need to be actively doing materially also? It feels like this now. Another really interesting message that's coming up through here, right, is that when you're thinking about the Three of Pentacles, right, like I said, it's that calendar date in terms of the Capricorn degrees. It will often fall between December 31st through to January the 10th, give or take a day off either side, right? So this is when you're dealing with the false matrix New Year's window, where everyone is making so-called resolutions, right, for the year ahead. And so what this is showing me is that there is a specific energy window that does occur in that time. It does occur in that time, but I feel like within the false matrix, as with all things, it's been used against us. It's been like misrepresented, because let's face the fact, let's think about this scientifically, right? Let's do a little bit of scientific inquiry here. Let's think about your neurology, how your brain works, habits, etc. And it said that it takes about 21 days of the same repeated behavior for your neural pathways to shift, and for it to become ingrained, for it to become a habit, for it to become something where the timeline lands, is really what it is. And not for nothing, before I forget, Capricorn is the sign of the zodiac that speaks about the materialization of timelines through the things that we're choosing to do based upon where we are mentally and emotionally. In other words, it's through Capricorn that we begin to materialize reality based upon how we think and feel. We begin to learn also how to do that. And another important thing you should know, 2026 being a number 10 year, it has very strong Capricorn associations because 10 is a Capricorn number. The 10th house is a Capricorn house, right? The 10th house also, not for nothing, how I read it, it deals with who you are, your reputation cosmologically, not who it is you were groomed into becoming in the false matrix. It deals with who you are known for being, your reputation, your attributes, your recognition cosmologically, and how you begin to bring that onto the earth. So that's another important thing to think about. But back to this energy window that exists within the second decan of Capricorn that they try to, it would seem, exploit or maximize, or both, through the false matrix. So most people who have New Year's resolutions, they fall off the wagon within a week, within 2 weeks, maybe. Like when I was an avid gym goer, I would stay clear of the gym for the first 2 weeks of the year, or I would go at times where, people would not be there, because the first 2 weeks, as many of you know, of the year, the gym is crazy. After about 2 weeks, it falls off, and people go back to their old habits. Okay, there's something here that's coming through about very, very ingrained timeline loops that you've been reinforcing, maybe annually, maybe through this window, right? But it's like this year is different. This year is different again, not because 77% on my computer, 1043, 77, 10, 7. Okay, so something is coming into divine, something is being birthed, something is coming into reality through divine alignment. Even the 4 and the 3, that's Emperor and Empress. That's the polarities that come together in order to birth the third thing. So yes, there's something about this year for you where you have been coming into deeper alignment, not with just the desire to get somewhere or to do something, but with the actual literal mechanics of how to make that possible. okay, which is the domain of Capricorn. And of course, I've been talking about, like, if you guys roll with me on my other channel, Solarah Rises, I have been talking about how 2026 being a Capricorn year and therefore under, Saturn rulership, hopefully we're moving towards the evolved and the true nature of what Saturn is here to do for us, right? But with it being a Capricorn year, it is under Saturnian. Capricorn is under Saturnian rulership, and 10 is also in the tarot the Wheel of Fortune. But then also, because it's a number 1 year, it also breaks down to the Magician and the Sun. So I say all of this because I've been speaking about this theme about 2026 being a year where we are being gifted the opportunity to master the material. And this is why so many of these mastery codes are coming onto the planet now too. Okay, that I've been talking about. These codes of mastery are returning. The master codes of the earth, your master codes too. And you know where you're going to get confirmation of this also? Because they will always reflect back to you what is happening cosmologically, but they won't really tell you they're doing it. Isn't this year the big year where they're doing that whole Masters of the Universe reboot in the cinemas? They've redone it. Masters of the Universe, like, isn't it He-Man, She-Ra, all of them people? I believe that's coming up this summer too. So they're showing you they're intercepting with their false matrix script to get you to focus on their masters of the universe, right? They're quote unquote so-called masters of the universe, and then they're distilling it into a movie, etc. But your focus actually needs to be on your master codes that are returning to the earth, because all of that's a distraction, right? Your master codes are, well, there's a lot of nuggets, golden nuggets of truth also, if you're reading that energy the right way. But the most important thing you need to know is that your master codes are returning on a personal level, and the master codes of the earth are returning. And in that, we are learning how to master the material again, how we move through the material as holographic beings, how we jump timelines, how we clear and we land. All of these things are coming back online for us as we do the self-inventory. Okay, so another message that's been coming through recently, and I'm noticing it with every year, is that it seems that February, and this is where I wanted to continue with this 21-day window. Remember I said that it takes about 21 days for neural pathways. This is what they say. When you are actually in alignment with your source code, you're not limited by that window. But as it stands right now, in terms of where human consciousness has devolved, it takes about 21 days through continual behaviors and habits for your neural pathways to change, and for that behavior and habit to become established, and for timelines to be born and stabilized through that energy, right? So 21 days. So when you think about it, from day 10 of January, because I said this was from 31st of December, the Three of Pentacles card in terms of dates represents anywhere from the 31st of December to around the 10th of January. From the 10th of January to the 31st, that's a 21-day window, right? February, my friends, is a leaping month. It's a month through which you can move through time very quickly. And I want to move it even past February, because it's not just February, it's about the power of Aquarius. Aquarius is a sign of the zodiac that puts us in direct contact with how we move through the time-space continuum also. So there's also something about the last few days of January when the sun enters into Aquarius, the first 2.5 weeks or so of February while the sun is in Aquarius, but also February as a month in general, it's a leaping month. And they even show us this by every 4 years, giving us an extra day and calling it a leap year. There are leaping technologies that connect us to time and the time-space continuum very specifically that are activated through February. And we are like, we are supposed to know this. This isn't something that, this is only something that has been a secret because they made it a secret from us, and then they've been using it against us. They've been using it against us. This is why oftentimes, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, you'll find that February is one of the, like one of the greatest like months of slump behavior, like the weather is the worst, etc., because it slows you down from being able to leap. Part of being able to leap is also having the energy to be able to do so. Heat assisted, the sun assisted, being in the sun assisted. I don't think I really want to get into that too deep because I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes today. But this is partly why it was important for them to keep the Southern Hemisphere within a certain frequency in terms of access to resources versus the Northern Hemisphere. They thought of everything the way that we would like loophole our way back into our power and our ability to create and to utilize the elements and everything for the purpose of our own jumping. They thought of everything at every turn to try to block us. But all of those things are like the false matrix is dead. We're dealing with the death and the decay of the false matrix within ourselves, like rewiring ourselves into truth, and also the clearing of it from the earth. So we're dealing with a lot of phantom shit right now from the false matrix, but for all intensive purposes, she's dead, right? So, and this is why a lot of this stuff, this remembrance is coming back online. So either way, February is a month that is designed for you especially to leap into the timelines that are supposed to match with the solar codes that you've activated through your journey from the Sirius portal in June. Well, what the gateway opens in June. So the solar codes start to really come in through July and August, especially through Leo season, the height being the 8-8 portal. So those solar codes are supposed to help you go through a process of inner awakening so you rise into your higher timelines every year. And by the time you get to Capricorn, it's time to make decisions about who you are. Sagittarius and Capricorn is about making the decision about who you are now in your solar coded upgrades. And then Capricorn is also about beginning to actually do things materially to shift that. And then you enter into the Aquarian portal and you get to like use this energy now to kind of leap. Alrighty. Overarching theme, 10 of Wands. Yes, something has been put to bed. And there was another message, like I said, that was coming through. I had a lot of downloads, but I didn't want to really go there too much today, but it feels like even that energy is coming through because I had a really interesting dream time last night. I had a very deeply clearing dream time. A lot of stuff that was still trying to cling to me from my family, my false matrix family grids and their ancestral grids, etc. A lot of that stuff was falling off for me. And I know that if it's falling off for me, I'm not alone, right? So the 10 of Wands, this is the breaking free from those contracts, right? So the 10 of Wands tells you the closing of the so-called generational curse breaker story, which is in many ways a false narrative. And those of you who've been rolling with me for a while know that I've said why I say this. And that is because you're not here to carry the burdens of a bloodline. You're not here to clear a bloodline. You're not here to do any of that shit. You're here to become sovereign in your own source code. And only bloodlines that are choosing sovereignty in their source code collectively are the ones moving forward into the new earth. And many beings, especially the ones that seem to be drawn to my words and to my work, many of you were binded into these false matrix families and bloodlines for the purpose of keeping you stuck to be a battery. You were the scapegoat in the family. And when you start to move into that role of thinking that you're there to save the family, you're actually opening yourself up further to be energy harvested, if that is the case of who you are. And again, that's not going to be for everyone. You have to know your own false matrix contracts, right, at some point. But many of you were, if you were binded into these families, taking on the role of generational curse breaker only opened you up to more harvesting on their behalf. It only opened up to you carrying more karma on their behalves when you've already been being a container where they were dumping their karmic responsibilities onto you and their shoddy timeline so that they could live within the false matrix and have access to experiences that they're not supposed to have access to. Some of them aren't even supposed to fucking be here. They don't have the solar power. They don't have the evolutionary lessons and the integrity that would give them the right to be here when the earth is in accordance with source code. So with the 10 of Wands here, this is some kind of burden dropping. So I said that there's some kind of sealing of static that you've been working through. You've been working through it like through scientific inquiry, looking at what your reality was feeding back and going internally and shifting your internal settings to change what reality was unrolling for you. Right? And in that case, this is where many of you might have run into these suppression technologies that I was talking about in the last 2 videos. Those suppression technologies are, like I said, are often part of your false matrix contract, but they come in and they're enforced very strongly at the family level. Okay? And a lot of those blocks, those suppressions are placed and enforced by and through mothers specifically. It comes through, in other words, the mother line, because a lot of these blocks, they have to be enforced through the mother line because this is what gives them life. This is what allows them to continue to replicate the loop within you, cross-incarnationally, generationally, through families and bloodlines. It has to come through the mother line if it's going to replicate. Okay? So the 10 of Wands is the overarching theme. You're letting something go. You're letting something very heavy go. And again, like I said, if you woke up this morning and you feel like you jumped several timelines, it's because you cleared a landing. You have jumped several timelines, but it's been a process in other terms. In other words, it feels like it happened overnight because now suddenly you might feel clear. But in all reality, it's not something that you decided yesterday to jump several timelines and here you are today in a whole new timeline because of that decision yesterday. No, if this is your message, this is true self-alchemy that you have been working through in the past month, very specifically, because you chose a new direction for yourself. And then you had to sit down with all of the static and all of the retaliation and the resistance within your own field and system that came up. And a lot of it was rooted in the foundational family energies that lived within you and your system and had programmed you into distortion and out of your truth. Challenge, 6 of Wands, ha ha ha. The challenge, the 6 of Wands. Are you ready for what it is that you say you want? Are you ready for visibility? Are you ready, for quote unquote success? However that looks for you. Are you ready? Because I don't even like that word, but are you ready to hold the mantle of your power in truth again? Are you ready? Because with the challenge position, the 6 of Wands being in the challenge position, this is like not only the fear of being seen, it's like the fear of truly receiving back what is your own, the fear of really taking back what is your own in terms of your own solar codes. Also, the solar codes that came through, are you ready truly to embody them? on a mind level, on a heart level, very specifically in terms of how you see yourself as worthy. And the crazy thing is, it's not even that you have to prove yourself worthy. This is who you are. You've just forgotten. So the Six of Wands is like, are you ready to deal with the fullness of what comes from actually being you in your power? Because so many of us have become so used to living in situations and timelines and experiences that might not have felt comfortable, but they're familiar. Many of us like get used to playing smaller roles, and even, you know, another message that's coming up, we've been choosing to play it small out of protecting ourselves. We've been choosing to hide to protect ourselves because of so much timeline collapse, so much betrayal, so much abuse, so much exile throughout our time here on the earth as it's while it's been existing in this false matrix. We've been unconsciously keeping ourselves stuck out of fear of moving into something that is the truth of who we are and being attacked for it. We have, as much as there's like so much stuff that is geared against us, there's also a lot of self-sabotaging program that we've wired ourselves into over time. And really, it's not like because, you know, we don't want something or we're lazy or whatever, you know, criticism. It was literally out of protection because we were conditioned to, every time we tried to move into our power, into the truth of our blueprints, we chose to begin to express those aspects of ourselves that are a part of our source code. We would be attacked, we would be punished. In some timelines, we were killed. And all of that static that's been coming up over the past couple of weeks of This Is Your Message that you've had to work through, that's the remembrance, that's the clutter your system has been holding on to that was also keeping you in constant self-sabotaging loops because you yourself feared what it meant to rise into your power again, to use your voice again, to be yourself in your source code on earth again. So it feels like you're still clearing through some of that stuff. That part is not completely over, but it feels like you've pushed through a huge fucking cloud of dissension, a huge fucking false matrix veil that was designed to keep you looping and to keep your material reality reflecting that loop. It feels like you've broken. You've not only jumped the timeline this time, but you've landed and you've pushed past that fog. What you need to be paying attention to, King of Cups, this is emotional mastery. The King of Cups, emotional mastery. When you get to the kings in any sign, it's speaking about the mastery of that energy, the mastery of the element of water, the mastery of the cups, the mastery of your emotional field. This speaks about your ability to move through your dream space in higher levels of sovereignty. This speaks of your ability to begin to connect through meditation and see where things are clouded in your own birthing canal, energetically speaking. This is where you begin to really see your own emotional patterns and where they are organically true and where they've been manipulated to keep you in victim and trauma experiences unconsciously. This is, again, like I was saying before, this is like where you've been doing the scientific inquiry on your own bodies and how they work, your thoughts. What feeling is coming up in conjunction with that thought? Do I want to explore that thought? Do I want to open the door that thought's going to lead me to? Do I want to Do I want to explore the emotion that's going to come? There's a time to do that. And then there's a time where you just are like closing that door, not going there, not thinking it, not engaging in the former emotion, not being dragged today. Not today. Okay? It's not happening today. Right? But it's deeper than that. It's like I said, it's understanding and overstanding at this point that you work as a holographic being, and this false matrix is a constant feedback loop for what is going on in your energy system and in your energy field. And in order to correct that reality, you have to correct the origin of the loop, of what's creating the loop. And everything is birthed through your waters. It's birthed through how you feel. It's birthed through the creative processes you go through in meditation, in dream, using your imagination. This is how you create as a divine being. And there's something to be said also about Neptune in Aries with this energy. You know what I neglected to do also? The 10 of Wands also, not for nothing, it's the 20 to 29 degree mark of Sagittarius. So the 10 of Wands is also the galactic center, interestingly enough. So remember I said that Sagittarius and Capricorn are the signs of the zodiac through which we learn to walk in the truth of who we are and make decisions that reflect that, and then begin to craft timelines where we have more, like, we're more conscientious about how we're moving materially in the creation of our timelines. Sagittarius, the galactic center is at 27 degrees Sagittarius, give or take a degree on either side, right? It's about 27 degrees Sagittarius. The galactic center is where we return. It's a big point of void and creation. Remember I said Capricorn is a sign of the zodiac through which timelines are materialized. Timelines come into being through Capricorn because of the few degrees prior, which is the galactic center, that place of voiding and that place of creation. It's a womb. The galactic center, it is a womb. It's a womb space, right? So the 10 of Wands, it speaks of that too. This is the 20 to 29 degree mark of Sagittarius in the tarot. So this is also showing me that you might have made a decision, you might have chosen something from December 31st to January the 10th in terms of like how you're going to begin moving. But in that last decan of Sagittarius, which would have been from like the 10th to the 21st of December, that's where you allowed the things that needed to die in order to make the decision that you're now moving forward in and you're leaping through in the month of February. In the challenge position in terms of dates, the 6 of Wands is the 10 to 19 degree of Leo. So the 8-8 portal connects us to the 6 of Wands. So in terms of dates, this will always be around July 31st to about August 10th. Okay, give or take a day on either side. You're dealing, in other words, with a 10 to 19 degree mark of Leo when the sun is in Leo. Or, you know, it doesn't even have to be the sun. So we're even dealing with this full moon energy because we had the 13 degree Leo full moon, which is also the 6 of Wands. So the challenge here is, again, it's accepting your solar codes, accepting them, right? Accepting the upgrades of your solar codes and who that makes you now to be, right? Because with what's going on right now, because we are rising back into the remembrance of who we are, every time the solar codes enter the earth, in powerful ways through the 8-8 portal, through your solar return, through the solar flares. Every time we get a barrage of solar coded information, that information is helping us to be illuminated back into our truth. But you can be shown who you are, but can you accept it? Can you truly accept it? Not just in theory, not just mentally, not just I'm a hashtag chosen one, which I fucking hate, that slogan, I'm this, I'm that, I'm so wealthy, all of these things might be very true about who you are on a cosmological level, but can you actually believe and embody that enough to hold that truth and bring it back onto the earth? That's what the Six of Wands is about. That's what a lot of the scientific inquiry energy I've been picking up on from January up until this portal has been about. It's been about clearing the narratives, the stories, the rebuttals, the programming, the retaliation grids that at every turn want to tell you, you're not that important. You're not that. You're not able to do that. You'll never get out of this. All of that is always going to come up when you're timeline jumping very far. Even if you're timeline jumping back into your truth, it don't matter. You haven't lived that truth here on the earth for thousands of years. You haven't anchored it in here. So to anchor it back in here, you got to do battle with all the other things you've been anchoring, you've been anchoring in instead of that truth. Guidance. Ooh, 5 of Swords. I like this in the guidance position. This again is another card I would not want in any other position but the guidance. Not even in the challenge. I don't even want a fucking 5 of Swords in the challenge. Let it be in the guidance. Because it gives you the motherfucking upper hand, right? The 5 of Swords gives you the upper hand in the guidance position. So the 5 of Swords, 1111, here's that fucking Aquarian gateway, 4211. As I said, that's a 611. That's the Emperor, High Priestess gate, 11 gate. So Emperor, something is setting into a foundation. Something that was hidden, once hidden, is coming into establishment. A gate is opening to allow for that. Okay? 5 of Swords is Aquarian energy. It is the 0 to 9, 10 degrees of Aquarius. Okay? So we are just moving into the 3rd decan. The sun is moving into the 3rd decan of Aquarius. I believe we're at 20 or 21 degrees of Aquarius. The sun is in 20 to 21 degrees of Aquarius at time of recording. I believe Mars is in the 2nd decan of Aquarius, still around 12 or 13 degrees Aquarius, which is the 6 of Swords. And Venus is making her way through the closing degrees of Aquarius, I believe, which is the 7 of Swords. And the sun has just entered also into the 3rd decan. So that is represented by the 7 of Swords. Okay, this is also where we get that leaping energy. The 7 of Swords is where a lot of the time they try to pull the wool over our eyes and run off with our stuff. And this window, it's time for you to take back your mantle. And you're not running away with anything on the sly. You're just being calculated and strategic in getting back what's yours, which goes back again to that message about scientific inquiry. That strategy. You've been strategizing. And this window is going to help you leap based upon your ability to have pushed past all of the junk that wanted to pull you back after you jumped. So you've landed. You've cleared landing because you worked through all of that stuff. So the 7 of Swords now is about moving forward and what that strategy has meant in terms of how it's going to shift your timelines. Flip your timelines. This might even be the Aquarian gate that keeps on coming up too. It allows you to flip things in time. Remember I was talking about that Uranus energy and how Uranus is a literal planet that helps us to time bend. Uranus is one of Aquarius's co-rulers. So when we get to Aquarius, you get the opportunity to flip time into alignment with a higher expression of your truth and experience based upon your ability to have embodied the solar codes that were here to upgrade you and your consciousness into who you are and acceptance of that mantle. Okay, Five of Swords and guidance. Five of Swords and guidance, it speaks about being ready to do what you have to do in order to stay in your power and to protect what is yours. You see, the Five of Swords, when it's being used against us, it's often beings trying to steal your power and to do whatever it takes to get from you what isn't theirs, right? But the Five of Swords in the guidance position, when it's being used in integrity, is you standing in your power and being willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that what is yours remains with you, what is yours that's been taken returns. Five also connects us to the Hierophant energy. This is also about the systemic thievery that occurs in the false matrix, but also through all of these fucking false power dynamics where beings are constantly trying to take from you what is yours. That's just a reinforcement of the false matrix scripts that other people are enacting. And the Five of Swords, because you're dealing with swords energy, you're dealing with the mental power. You're dealing with the fortitude in your own mind to choose to align with the truth of who you are, your power, what you deserve, and absolutely refusing to budge for other beings that want to throw their false scripts at you to get you to ascend off of your own, to get you to descend. I was looking for the other A word, abdicate your own throne over yourself. You're supposed to sit on the fucking throne over you, not anyone else. Ain't nobody else supposed to be telling you how to be you. That's between you and Source, not anyone else. You and Source. You don't need an intermediary. It's you and Source. The false matrix was designed at every level to have other beings come in and try to make you think they knew something more about you than you know about yourself. And that's not true. People who are in their source-encoded truth, moving properly on the earth, we can help guide you back into the wisdom of who you are. But none of us have your blueprint. That's you. That's all you, baby. That's all you. It's all you. Okay. I feel like I want to go into some herbs. Any other messages coming through? It feels also, we have no major arcanas here. So it feels like the big part of what you needed to do is like, for this particular jump, it's done. It feels like kind of just tying up of loose ends kind of energy here. That's kind of what I'm feeling. Okay. I have a decree that I just released yesterday. It is a decree that I wrote yesterday, actually, in response to all of the information that had been coming through over the weekend about these suppression technologies. So it's pretty much a decree that gives you the language to renounce any further involvement and to take back, also taking back your voice, taking back your own blueprint, etc., taking back, anywhere where the false matrix very specifically is still trying to run you through contracts that have expired A lot of these false matrix contracts have expired. They've passed their statute of limitation. The only reason they're still running through us is because they are depending upon us not knowing that. So I have a new decree. I will place the information for that in the pinned comment section. I also, it's also on the community board, the link to where you can purchase that. You can go to my Ko-Fi and find it. It's ko-fi.com/Solarah Rises. Okay. You can also make any tips or donations or buy me a cup of coffee through my Ko-Fi. You can book with me a soul recovery session through my Ko-Fi if you're interested in an eclipse reading, a one-to-one eclipse reading with me, looking at what's going on for you through this eclipse corridor, through your chart and cards. You can book that with me. I have a few spaces left, I think, for Tarot Astrology Full Rebirth one-to-ones. This is a session where you sit with me for about 2 to 3 hours and we go through your whole chart. I channel, I channel messages. I look into the tarot, the astrology, the numerology. I call it a soul mapping experience because we look at, some of your contracts here, your false matrix contracts very specifically, and what your divine blueprint actually speaks through those false matrix contracts and what it is and where it is they've been seeking to bind you, and what the astrology shows about your giftings, and even your, your purpose here at this time. So I have a few more slots for that. That service, please email me directly for that, solarahspeaks@proton.me, because I will not take everyone on for that service. It's very taxing for me. It's a long time to be with a person and to dive into your chart in that way. So I don't necessarily always take people on for that. So, and I'm phasing it out in April. So I'm taking just a few more people. So if you want me to do that for you, please email me directly and we'll begin conversations from there. Okay, what came out? It came out reverse. We have calamus root. I love calamus root. So calamus root is a root that a lot of the time people use nefariously to try to command another person's energy and reality. But the same way a herb works nefariously, it works to put you back into your power. So in other words, if people are fucking around with calamus root to try to control you, you actually can use calamus root to come back into your power too. So it's a very powerful root for protection, for luck, for prosperity. It's also said to be an antidote for snake bite. Okay, this is in herbal medicine, but also in the astral planes. Okay, so the snake energy in its exploited or shadow form is often designed to disrupt your kundalini, disrupt the proper flow of your energy through your system. But it's also, for those of you who have powerful dragon codes, or you're here to command the dragon energy on the earth or protect the dragon energy on the earth. Again, a lot of the time, the things that they will try to fuck with you through the astral will be through discordant snake energy. Okay? Alrighty. What else? Calamus root is not something I ever ingest. Okay, so for those of you who might not know, I am trained in medical herbalism, but it's not something I would ingest. You can ingest it, but it's not a herb that you ingest, in my opinion, without the proper instruction from a medical herbalist. Okay, so when I use calamus, I use it purely in ritual. I use it in ritual, okay? Or in spirit. You can also work with plants in spirit, especially if you've already opened the door and you've worked a lot with them in the physical anyway. You can also work with plants in spirit. And plants are amazing. They are so beyond what it is that we think that they're here to do on a healing level physically. Plants are timeline openers, timeline erasers, timeline correctors. Plants help you to maneuver and find your way through timelines by lending you their master codes to update you in your master code. That's what plants are that's what they do. They lend you their master code to activate that code that should already exist in you. That's why so many beings who are running around, fucking around with all manner of plant medicine, and then they have the worst things to say about it. It's because a lot of the time they are trying to access master codes within that plant that they're not a match for. They don't have the master code that matches the key. So what the plant unlocks in them is like a whole bunch of craziness, because they have no business trying to get from that plant something that they're not ready for and they're not in alignment for. Plants can act, people will say they act as tricksters. It's not necessarily they act as tricksters. It's just that, like I said, if you don't hold the master code and you're going to that plant and asking for the master code, it's like trying to put a software on your computer when your operating system can't hold it. It's not a match for your operating system. It's going to fuck up the computer, or the computer's just going to fucking reject it. Be like, computer says no, computer says no. How many of you guys are Little Britain fans? How many of you remember that? Computer says no. Anyway, so plants hold master codes of wisdom that when we approach them with reverence, they lend those master codes to us to remind us and to activate those codes of mastery that already exist within us that we've forgotten. So plants are wonderful for helping us to find ourselves. They're great for path working. They're great for grounding us into timelines. They're great for helping us shift into timelines. They're great for helping us work within our own bodies to prepare ourselves, like working with nervines, for example, working with, chamomile, skullcap, lime blossom, lemon balm, just to name a few. There was another one I was thinking about, but I've lost. Catnip. All of these herbs are very powerful for tuning your nervous system into the capacity it needs to come back into so you can hold your power and your truth again. Okay, at the bottom, we've got a lot of herbs that are like anti-snake energy. We've got Centauri. I love Centauri. Centauri is a herb of Virgo, and it's such a powerful herb. It's bitter as fuck, but it's amazing. Let me tell you about the wonders of Centauri. Centauri it works very powerfully as a febrifuge and a purgative. Okay, so when you have a fever, for example, and you take Centauri, and a lot of the time I'll just make it up in a very strong tea form. Centauri will push out of your body whatever it is that's the invader that's causing the fever, and you will sweat it out. And by most of the time the next day, in my experience, fever is gone. Fever is broken, fever is gone. You sweat it out, as well as whatever it was that was causing it. So it's got very, very powerful purging, and it purges invader energies. Remember Virgo? What's Virgo? Virgo is a fucking hermit. Virgo says, I don't want you in my energy. Bounce. Okay? That's what Centauri is like. Ooh, you think you're coming into my space and I didn't invite you? I don't think so, man. Bounce. And it works like that on the physical level, and it works like that on the metaphysical level. Centauri is also, Virgo rules over your digestive system, your digestive organs. It's a very, very powerful, like I said, it was a bitter. It's very powerful for helping you digest, for priming your system for digestion, right? But also, bitter herbs are very good for toning both the liver and the gallbladder, as well as the spleen. Sorry, not the spleen. What am I thinking about? The pancreas. The pancreas. The pancreas. Okay? So Centaurs for exorcism and banishing of evil, especially astral parasites. For the scattering and repelling of those snake energies I was telling you about, as well as malevolent beings and entities. It restores your health. It's not just the banisher, it restores your health as it banishes. So it's deeply grounding and nourishing. It restores your health. So with these two coming out, where's the other one that came out? What was the other one? Calamus root. I lost it for a second. With calamus root and centauri coming out, both herbs that begin with the letter C. Shall we do a Sesame Street expose on the letter C? I'm just joking. 3 though. Fuck! My computer's at 33%. 3. C is the number 3 letter in the alphabet. I was about to say that, and I saw the 33%. 33, degree of mastery. There we go again, master codes coming through. 3 connects us to the Empress. So this again is about birthing something. 3 also is a degree of Gemini, right? Connects us to Gemini energy and Libra energy. So this is also about creating new realities through thought streams, very specifically mastering your mind in all of this. So taking back power over your mind, restoring the health of your mind. And it's funny because all of this Aries energy that we're about to start moving through, we've already begun. Neptune and Aries. Neptune moved into Aries about 2 weeks ago. We've got Saturn moving into Aries in a matter of like 5 days, I think. And then in about a month's time, a month and a week or so, we're moving into Aries season. And when we move into Aries season, it will be the sun will be moving into Aries. Mercury will be moving into Aries soon. Venus will be moving into Aries at that time. Mars will be moving into Aries after that. We've got Chiron in Aries. So we've got a lot of Aries energy that we are moving towards. Okay, so Aries is what puts us back into touch with our master codes, but very specifically also Aries gives us back, if we're open to receive and remember, Aries helps us to remember our proper mind, how we actually should be thinking in alignment with our source code. That information comes through Aries. So I say that because what's coming through with the calamus and the centauri, calamus root, I know I said that kind of fast, calamus, C-A-L-A-M-U-S, calamus. Centauri, you got that centaur word, Chiron, it's a healer, C-E-N-T-A-U-R-Y, centauri. Okay, so it's a restorer of health. And I feel like the centauri is coming up here to help you restore your mind back into your true mental settings that align with who the fuck you actually are. Your I am, right? That's Aries energy. So yes, that's what I have for you. That's what I have. I hope that this reading was helpful. I hope it was insightful. I hope it blew away any cobwebs that we're trying to form. I hope that on an even deeper level, it just cleared the fuck out of any and all false veils that are trying to keep you from seeing yourself as you are and trying to keep you from accessing what it is you need to anchor in the truth of your timelines here on the earth. I will be back again when I'm back. I am really having a lot of fun right now. I cannot guarantee that I will be continuing to release a video every day, but right now I have a lot of information coming through and I'm really enjoying being back. And so I'm just going to go with the flow of it. And it also helps to kickstart the energy of the channel too, because she's been sleeping also. So it's time, wakey, wakey. It's time for everyone to wake the fuck up. Yeah, I'll see you again soon. Until then, be well.